Good morning, students. Today, I, Rohit Trivedi, will tell you something about computer. Our first chapter is Introduction to OOPS, Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming Language. The first thing we have class. A class is a blueprint or prototype that defines the variables and the methods common to all objects. So students, actually class is a mixture of all kinds of method, variables. So this is a class, and here you will have some methods, some variables. So this is all about a class. Without a class, no program can be made in Java language. So class is mandatory. And then we have object. An object is a software bundle of variables and related methods. Object actually it represents to class. It is an instance of class. It has state and behavior. So object is always created inside a class. So suppose we have C1, then obj is a class, object of class, and then this is the syntax to create the object of the class. Suppose you just take the example of car. A car is an object. Then object has, as I said, it has property and it has behavior. So its property is its color and its behavior just like its average, its pickup. So this is what we call object. Then we have some OOPS principles, object-oriented programming principles. So first we have abstraction. It is to represent essential features of a system without getting involved with the complexity of the entire system. Students, suppose you just buy a TV, then you just should know about how to just switch it on or off, how to change the channels. Only these things, these are the essential things for a normal user. But when your TV stops working, then you should call a mechanic, because that mechanical part is covered. That is necessary for TV, but that is not necessary for you. So that is hidden from a normal user. So that is called abstraction. Encapsulation, it is the mechanism that binds together code and data. It manipulates. Encapsulation, it binds data and code together. Data and just like method together. So you just can say, just like we just take the example of television. So when you want to change the channel, then you should just push the button of channel. And then if you want to increase the volume or decrease the volume, then you should push volume keys. So that is called encapsulation, because these specific keys are bound to some specific function. And then we have inheritance. It is the process by which one object acquires the properties of another object. So students, inheritance, when a class inherits the property of another class. Just like in the real world, we just get some properties from our father, mother. So in the same way, we have inheritance feature in Java language. So a class that is inherited, that is called base class, and the class that is inheriting the feature, that is called child class. So child class has the features of its own and also the base class. And then we have polymorphism. It allows two or more classes to respond to the same message in different ways. So students, polymorphism, you just take the example of a function. A function can perform different things, but that will be a single function. We will not take different function. If we want to add something, if we want to subtract or something else, then we can do that in the same function. The name will be same. The function name will not be changed. So that is called polymorphism. A same function but different parameters we will use, so that is polymorphism. And then we have tokens. The smallest individual unit in a program is known as token. Java has following tokens. The first we have keywords. These are the words that convey a special meaning to the language compiler. We cannot use them as normal identifier name, just like we have example if, new. So these are the actually keywords. Java, actually when we just create Java, when we create any program of Java, then we don't use these kinds of predefined words, just like if, new, and something else, because they have some kind of special meaning. They are bound to some kind of specific action. We cannot use that name again. So these are called keywords. They have some special meaning and we will not use them. If we use them, obviously program is not going to work. Then we have identifiers, symbolic names used for various data items in a program, such as variables, class, or methods are known as identifier. So this is the example of identifier. Identifier, you know, when you just create any kind of variable, just int a, then that is identifier. This is variable and this is the name we are giving here, that is a. So it is important to give any kind of name to any kind of variable, to any kind of method, so that we can access them by using their name. That is called identifier. Then we have literals. So students, literals, these are data item which does not change during the execution of program. So suppose we have 10. So 10 will always be 10. That will not be 12 or something else. Okay? And then suppose we are just taking A. A will always be A. That is not going to be or something else. So they are constant. They will never change. So that is literal. Okay? And then we have operators. It is a mathematical symbol used to perform mathematical and logical operations. So there are some kind of operators: arithmetic, relational, logical. And arithmetic, you know, which, when we just do some kind of addition, subtraction. Relational, then when we compare something. Logical, when we perform some kind of logical function. Unary operators, increment and decrement operators, these kind of unary operator. And then we have assignment operator, when we assign some kind of value. Now we have final keyword. Value of final variable remains constant throughout the program. It can't be changed. So when we apply final keyword before any variable, then the value of that variable will never be changed. When we apply final keyword before any method name, then the method can't be inherited. Okay? So that will be the final value. That value will not be changed. And then we have data types. So there are two kinds of data types: primitive and non-primitive data types. These primitive data types are predefined data types provided by a programming language to store data in a variable. There are 8 kinds of data type: byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, and boolean. So these data types, they are in Java language when Java language was first introduced. And then we have reference data type. Reference data type means non-primitive data types. So these are derived by primitive data types, just like we have class, string, array. So we use primitive data types to derive non-primitive data types. Okay? Then we have variable. A variable is the name of reserved area in memory. So this is variable int x, y, z. These are variables. Actually, this is a name given to any kind of, variable. We just actually allowed some kind of space. X, Y, Z, they have got some kind of space when we declare them. Then by this way, they just store some kind of value in some kind of memory location. So whenever we need that, just the memory location, from that memory location, we just fetch that data. Now we have some kind of types of variable. So first, we have local variable. So local variable, suppose we have a class C1, then suppose we have a function here, void disk. So if we declare a variable here, int a, then this is a local variable. because these types of variables are declared inside the method. Its scope is limited to only this method. Okay, so this is local variable. Then we have instance variable. Instance variable, that will be declared here. That is also class level variable. Suppose we are declaring B, but that variable will be accessed through object. And after that we have static variable. These variables are explicitly declared as static variable. Static variable, actually among all the objects they share a single copy. So static variable, they are class level variable, but when we declare them, then we should apply static keyword before this int keyword. So now they are called static variable, and we can call them without any object, without creating any object. Now we have control flow statements. So to control a program, we have some kind of things. First we have selection statements, selection or decision statements. So they have three parts: if, else, and switch. So we will discuss it in a detailed way in later session. So now if or if else, we put some kind of conditions there, and if condition is right, then some kind of block is executed. If that is not right, then other part is executed. So that is selection statement. And now the other one, we have loop construct. A loop repeatedly executes. So when we want to do something again and again, when we iterate something, then we use looping construct. It repeatedly executes the same set of instruction. And then we have different kind of loop: for, while, do while. So in part 3 we will discuss this in a detailed manner, all the loops and all the selection statements. So students, today I am going to wind up my speech, and we will meet in next session. Till then, be at home, do study, be safe.